Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
From the Fifth Quarter Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to Coach Unplugged. And now, your host, Steve Collins.
Hey everybody, welcome to Coach Unplugged. I'm so happy you decided to join us. Before we get started today, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors. First of all, Dr. Dish, the #1 shoe machine in the market. I've said this multiple times. We own 3 of them. I want a 4th and a 5th. My AD's listening to me, but they're so great. They work so well. They're so easy to set up. I think my record is 37 seconds or 32 seconds to set it up. But mention Coach Unplugged, they'll give you $450 off. Mention Coach Collins, they'll take really good care of you. And also go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. This is a one-stop shop for basketball coaches. It's everything you need from a nationally ranked. We won 3 state titles. I think we were just talking recently. We've won over 460 games in our program and lost 130 over the last 20 years. And I think we know the secret sauce to be successful, the roadmap, what it takes on and off the court. So go over and check it out and enjoy the podcast. Bye. All right. Welcome to Coach Unplugged. I don't know if you'll be the lucky one that will get an episode 1,000, Coach. I'm telling all the coaches in the next couple of weeks, I'm not sure where they're going to fall, but somebody's going to be episode 1,000. So,
knowing my luck, I'll probably be 999.
999 could be.
I'm happy to be on.
I might do a special one for 1,000. I might do my rants, get rid of the jump ball kind of thing.
There you go.
We'll save that. That's for a later discussion. So Chad, I'm going to have you introduce yourself and just kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your basketball journey, and then we'll jump right into the interview.
Okay, yeah, it's Chad Siebert. I coach at Eastern Mennonite School currently, which is a small private school in Harrisonburg, Virginia. So Harrisonburg.
What's the closest biggest town other than?
Well, we're 2 hours from DC. We're 45 minutes from Charlottesville, where UVA is. 2 hours from Richmond.
Okay.
But yeah, we're right in the same town as James Madison University, which most people know. So yeah, that's what I do. And we're a K through 12 school. So we have about 350 students. So we're classified as Division III private school here, which would be the smallest classification, but it's where the most of the private schools in Virginia are Division III. So it's very competitive.
Driving around DC bad? Do you have to drive around DC very often?
Traffic wise, it is horrible. It is. We do go up to Northern Virginia area a couple times for some of the schools we play. The private schools here are very spread out. Right. So almost everyone that we play is 2 hours away. And so, we do spend some time up there then, especially for AAU in the DMV area, Virginia, Maryland, DC, up in there. And it's, if you, I mean, we've had things where we're a mile away from the place where we're playing, but it could take you 45 minutes if you're trying to drive it.
I from talking to other coaches, it's like I'm putting DC, Atlanta, and New York City. Those are from having experienced. I haven't experienced DC in a really long time, but Atlanta and New York, horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
And it depends on the time of day that you go. But I'm not sure. I don't have the personality to live in an area like that for sure. I'm way too impatient.
I don't either. A funny discussion is my sister-in-law worked in she lived in downtown Chicago and she worked in the suburb, and I did the math for her one Thanksgiving about how much of her life she was spending in her car.
Oh, wow.
She moved within like 6 months. I
bet that was eye-opening.
I go, Mari, you're spending like a third of your life in a car. Why are you doing that? Like you gotta figure out your commute, because you're spending like 2-3 hours a day in the car. It's like, you can't do that, man. Not for long term.
No, that's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. Okay, so all right, so explain where were you born? Where did you start playing? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I grew up in Indiana. That's where I was born and raised. And I mean, like they say, in 49 other states, it's just basketball, but this is Indiana. Basketball is king there, and that's what every little boy grows up wanting to do. And I was no different. Played everything kind of, and then as I got into high school, I just didn't have the athleticism to be able. I was the third youngest kid in my grade. I would have been the perfect kid that now I would have started later or been held back a year, or take a redshirt year, whatever you call it, and would have meant an extra year or two of varsity for me because I just matured late. But I was at our school in an era when it was the best team our school has ever had. And it was when Indiana was all one big tournament still before they went to class basketball.
Right.
So those were, if you think of the movie Hoosiers, like we made it to the round of 32 my junior year, which was a really cool thing. And it's weird. In Indiana, the goal is to make it to the Sweet 16, which is at Hinkle Fieldhouse where Butler plays. And that's where Hoosiers is, where they measure the rim and everything. Yep. And we played a game I think it was at 10 a.m. in the round of 32. And if we would have won that game, we would be in the Sweet 16. We would have played again at 8 o'clock that night. So you played 2 games that night, 2 games in the same day in the state tournament. If you could imagine that's what you would do, but that's what would have happened. But as it turned out, we lost that game. We blew a big lead. And so I spent my time going to Indiana games, watching, we had season tickets for the Hoosiers, and we would sit, about 6 rows. My brother-in-law had really good tickets, about 6 rows behind the bench, and just grew up a huge Bobby Knight fan, a huge Indiana fan.
Really steep. My wife got her specialist degree from there, and she went to the games, and it's unbelievable how steep the stairs are.
It is very vertical. Yes,
very vertical.
No doubt about it. Assembly Hall is a really cool place to watch a basketball game when it's full.
Yeah.
But that had a big impression on me just for style of play, for how the game should be played with a free-flowing motion offense and man-to-man defense. Not necessarily my coaching style. I'm not a yeller. I'm not a screamer. I'm not, I don't try to model myself after Coach Knight in any way. But I mean, it was a different era. It is what it is. But my background, when I wasn't good enough to play basketball anymore between 8th and 9th grade, I got into golf pretty heavily and got pretty good pretty fast, and ended up going to college on a full ride scholarship, and then dropped out after 2 years and turned pro when I was 19, and had like a 7-year playing career.
And so explain how that worked. Did you go to Canada? Did you go to?
No, I went to Florida. It's where everybody goes. So they have what was called the mini tours back then. This was just before Tiger came along and brought a lot more money.
It was before Hooters then, right? The Hooters tour. What was
the Hooters tour was around then? So I played a decent amount of Hooters tour, and but there were a lot of mini tours, they call them in Florida,
Okay.
like the Tommy Armour tour and the JC Goosey tour. There are a lot of little mini tours down there. So I did it on my own dime and worked as a bartender at night for the first couple years. And then I had a decent track record. So I was able to get some sponsorship.
Okay.
And like incorporated myself and sold shares of myself, and people could invest in me. You know, it's like expenses to live and play full time were about 60,000. So it's like $5,000 a month,
That's
which
crazy.
it would be probably twice that now.
Oh, it'd be, yeah. So yeah, they're talking about like NFTs and people actually selling parts of themselves. So that'd be interesting for golfers. Did you try to go get your card? That's an interesting book. I have that on my shelf. I think about the PGA trying to get your card.
Yeah.
That's
No, I did that. Tried the qualifying school route and some of those things. And I mean, that's just a perennial thing that you're always chasing. And, you know, my dream was obviously to be a pro and to make it to play in the Masters. That was, for me, that was the mecca of all things, which I did not make it. But my first daughter is named Augusta for obvious reasons.
I love that.
If she was a boy, she would have been Nicholas. But
okay.
Yeah, so that was my journey. And then at some point, you know, you're just another year older if you keep doing it, and you realize you're just not quite good enough to break through. And it's a hard way to make an easy living, is kind of how I put it. Like, what I figured out is no matter how much you love something, if you have to do it to survive, it can become a job like anything else.
Right.
And it was mostly Motel 6 and ramen noodles. It's not like, you know, I was Ruth Chris and flying private jets or anything.
Right. So did you get to play? Did you get to play in any tournaments, like PGA tournaments?
So I made it into what you would consider PGA Tour level tournaments that were in Chicago.
Okay.
One was called the Chicago Open.
Okay.
And when I played in that, I made it through some qualifiers and played in that in 1998. And the last time they had hosted that event was 1948. It was an official PGA Tour event.
Right.
And so the defending champion was Ken Ventura, who was a famous, you know, PGA Tour guy. And so this is 1998 Chicago. So Michael Jordan was into golf at that time. So he played in the event. And it was like sponsored by LaSalle Bank, which is a big bank in that area.
Yeah.
And first prize was like $250,000, which that was way bigger than the tournaments I was playing in at the time. Like if you won something, you might win 5 or 10,000 at that time. So yeah, that was a really cool deal. And I didn't play with Jordan, but I saw him, and he just had mobs of people following him.
I bet that helped him. Yeah.
And I got paired with a kid. I call him a kid. He wasn't much younger than me at that time, but I got paired with a kid who was a senior at Northwestern University at that time, by the name of Luke Donald.
Okay.
Which I had no idea who he was. And I didn't miss a shot for 2 days. And he was leading the event after 2 days, and he was 11 shots ahead of me. And that's when I realized I was probably I probably wasn't going to make it very long in that business. Now Luke ended up becoming the number one player in the world for a stretch. You know, and it's still.
But you saw what the bar was.
I saw what the bar was, and it just, you can't even fathom how good those guys were. But I had a blast. I don't regret it for a second. Had a friend of mine that moved down to Florida and caddied for me. And we had like a local sports talk radio show that he used to work at, and we would call in and give like a weekly report of like where we were and what, you know, life on the tour and what we were going through. He would write like a monthly newsletter and send it out to my sponsors. And those guys, that it was like fantasy football for them, and they would fly me in to play in their, you know, corporate scramble tournaments and stuff as a ringer. So when we had a blast. Kind of like you said with your son with taking a gap year, like, you know, now's the time to do it if you're going to chase it.
Yeah, I teach seniors, and I tell my seniors, your 20s are one to figure out your life, man. Yeah. Like, figure it out. Like, live on someone's couch, eat ramen, and I mean, because once you get responsibilities, you won't be able to do that.
It all changes. Yeah,
it all changes.
So eventually, then, I met a girl, and stopped doing that and got into selling insurance and trying to get a real job. And my wife ended up getting pregnant with my first daughter. And that was when I really just kind of officially stopped chasing it.
Right.
And at that time, then was home for about a 6-month stretch while she was pregnant and everything. And that was when she just said, like, I don't know what you're going to do, but like, you have to do something where there's winning and losing involved. Like, you've got to get out of this house. You're driving me nuts.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm not going back. I'm not going to do the golf thing. We had moved to Colorado because she had a great job offer that she got in Colorado. So we had moved out there, and I'm like, I'm not doing the golf thing. I don't want to be gone. I don't want to be on the road. And she said, well, I don't know. Like, you could coach basketball. And I'm like, what?
Did you ever think of becoming a golf pro?
I did. I spent 2 years in the business doing that. Yeah, as an assistant pro at like a private.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, what I ended up figuring out was I loved golf too much to be a golf pro.
Yeah.
Like, golf pros don't play golf. They're in there, they're giving lessons, they're selling shirts, they're, making tee times.
Yeah.
And I, looking at that business, there's times I wish I would have stayed in it, but there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Like, the head pro, the director of golf, it's not like, okay, once you get to that level, it lets up and you get to go. No, I mean, those guys are
just as busy as
sun up to sundown. I mean, there are some jobs where it matters if your pro is a good player,
right?
But there's not very many of them, and it's just just like coaching, really,
right?
In terms of how much you're gone and all that. So, I mean, she said, well, you're from Indiana. Like, surely someone would hire you. And I'm just like, well, you think someone's going to hire me because I'm from it? Like, I had never thought about coaching. I had done some teaching in golf. But that's totally different.
Right. Right.
I was like, we weren't around basketball in any capacity at this time. So lo and behold, she finds a thing on Craigslist, of all places, that was like an 8th grade travel team in Boulder that fed into Boulder High School. And the guy was looking for a volunteer assistant coach.
Okay.
And I sent him, an email, and I ended up interviewing with him. And it turned out to be, I mean, it's the hardest interview I've ever had to this day. It was 2.5 hours. He put me through the ringer because it was between me and another guy,
right?
Who I think probably, I couldn't even spell basketball at that point.
Right.
And what it boiled down to was he hired me because 2 reasons, he said. Number 1, I was from Indiana. And number 2, he had 2 Great Danes and the dogs really liked me.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I guess the other guy didn't like dogs, so.
Okay.
We went through that year, and I knew pretty quickly that I loved coaching. And it was like, dealing with kids who were young, and it just kind of taken me back to my youth a little bit. And we were good. That team ended up being 35-5. And at the end of the year in Colorado, they do this huge tournament with like every middle school in the state is like in it. And we made it to the Final Four. But as we approached that time of the year, the head coach got swine flu, which is kind of weird now with like COVID going around, but he got the H1N1, like he got it.
That's crazy.
And
that probably shut your team down, huh?
Well, it wasn't, you didn't do that. Like, but he broke 3 ribs from, I went to visit him He had 3 broken ribs from coughing, and his eyes looked like he was going to bleed to death out of his eyeballs. I didn't think he was going to make it, honestly.
Wow.
So I ended up coaching the team at the end of the year, and so I was just hooked. And that team fed into Boulder High School. So when that season ended in the fall, I called up the coach at Boulder High and said, I helped with this team. Are you interested? And like, can I be a scout? Can I sweep the floor? Whatever. And he's like, yeah, come on in. And Boulder High was number 2 in the state that year. This guy was a coaching legend that coached for 30 years and won 11 titles. So I learned, it was, super accelerated learning. And he said, after, one season with him, he was like, what I want to do is show up and coach the games. He's like, I want to fly fish, and I want to do whatever I want to do in the summer, but I want to show up about 10 minutes before the game, coach the game, talk to the newspaper, and go home. So he's like, if you want to run everything else, I'll give you the blueprint and you do all the work and I get all the credit. Are you interested? And I'm like, yes. I'll do it all. So I coached out there for 3 years, and then he ended up having to have back surgery and being down the last year I was there. And so I was like interim coach with another guy, and we went to the state championship, and we had Mr. Basketball on our team. It was just an awesome thing. So the plan was for me at that time, living in Boulder and with Coach Schultz stepping down, I was being seriously considered for that job, which the Boulder High job is one of the top 10 jobs in the state of Colorado. And, I was kind of the interim, like running the summer program and everything. And that was so at that time we had two daughters now, and we were living at 9,000 feet up in the mountains of Colorado, which is a very isolated, very difficult. We got 56 inches of snow in one day.
Right.
You just never know what's going to happen up there.
Right.
And my wife said, like, if you want to be a coach, that's great. I support you 100%, but you have to get me where there's family, because I'm just sitting up here on top of this mountain all alone, basically.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So that whole time, the 4-year stretch when I started coaching to when I thought I was going to get the Boulder High job, I'd gone back to school and got my master's, to finish my college, got my master's degree online, because I'm thinking I'm going to be a coach. And if I'm going to be a coach, the most natural thing is I'm going to be a teacher.
Right.
So went and got my master's and was a stay-at-home dad at that time for 2 little girls, which was incredible. But I'm the guy that used to coach with my daughter hanging in the little sack, taking a nap, or in the stroller beside the bench while a game's going on. So we had some things that happened at that time, like found out that my wife, she was 30 at that time, found out she had cancer, and found out that my wife and my dad had cancer in the same day.
Oh,
just a brutal. Yeah. So my parents were still in Indiana, which was a long way from where we lived.
Right.
Didn't get home very often. So that just made it even more important to get, closer to home and to get my wife where she had the family support that she needed. So that brought us to Virginia.
Okay.
That's where her family was. And so that got me 8 hours from home instead of 17 hours. And
you won't get 56 inches of snow in Virginia. So
I hope not. If we do, because in Colorado, I dug myself out. I was out after 2 days. It melts so fast out there.
Hey everybody, I hope you enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe. We would really appreciate that. Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen, those 5-star reviews mean a ton to us. Also, go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Have a great day.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Memorial Day doorbuster deals are here at Lowe's. Right now, Rewards members save $80 on the Master Forge 4-burner gas grill, now just $149. Plus, Rewards members save $900 on the Lowe's exclusive Hisense French door refrigerator, now only $999. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/26. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Subject to change.